Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear viewers. Welcome to Mic'd Up 416, episode 6, here live from Haramain TV studios. I'm your host, Omar, and I got a great episode today. It's our third episode of the topic that we're going to be discussing. So just before we begin, please make sure that you have liked, subscribed to our channel at Mic'd Up 416. You're going to see it on your screen. Please make sure that you are commenting, giving us your feedback. Continue to do that. We appreciate the love and support as always. And we're live every Saturday from Haramain TV studios. So make sure that you go give them a follow on Facebook, follow them on Instagram at haramain.tv. And if you're not watching Haramain TV on IPTV boxes that you have in your home, please make sure that you are doing that for true Islamic content. Now, getting right into it, I have two guests with me back for his third episode. Shaykh Aamer returns, and Hafiz Yahya for his third episode as well.
Free Palestine.
So, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to the brothers.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So, this episode was a fan favorite from season 1. We did 2 parts to it in season 1. We didn't get to do it in season 2. But it was definitely a fan favorite. There's a lot of laughable moments that we discussed in this episode. It is family drama. And as families evolve, as the time continues to pass, we always come through many things that we can obviously talk about. And we're going to share some of those things that we have been seeing since the last episode. So I want to start with, I think the biggest issue right now with Muslim society is finding a spouse for a significant other. So we want to make sure there's always a rola. There's always an argument happening. There's always disagreements happening. You know, when should somebody get married? Who should they marry? How can they get linked up Islamically? Because nowadays, you know, Minder, I think, has been dissolved. And now it's like Dil Mil and all of these. I seen it on the TTC subway, but Dil Mil and Islamic matrimony, where you meet the person in face-to-face. And you're also doing like speed dating. So you would have a brother and a sister meet, questions.
Nothing wrong with that.
And then 30 seconds, switch up.
There's nothing wrong with that.
So I guess I want to start there. Your guys' take on, I guess, Islamic marriages. And obviously that is causing huge issues in the family. So let's just start the conversation there first. And let me pick your guys' brain, and then we'll continue from there.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I also feel when we pick a spouse, now, since the world has kind of changed from before, the arranged marriages have kind of changed, and no one is wanting to do the arranged marriages anymore, realistically.
Is there something wrong with arranged marriages?
No, there's nothing wrong with arranged marriages. Most of our parents, and I'm pretty sure Hafiz Saab and all of our khandan, all of us were in our khandan, were arranged into marriage as well. And this was the tradition of our families. But now it's a little scare, because we do have a lot of fraudulent people as well,
Right.
that are coming in, especially with the women who are born here. And then the men are coming, and then they are
I guess some of the
Excuse me, sorry. I was
some of the things that
Ustadh Omar's family has got me sick, so sorry. And then it transferred from Bilal, coming from Umrah, and then
you were
coming to
saying
us.
about
Anyways, like the thing is, and we have this in every culture. The arranged marriages in every culture. It's not just Islamically. I find is Islamic arranged marriage is the best way. The reason why is safety in it. The insecurity in marriage always is like we don't know, right? What's going to happen? But there are defaults. I'm not saying that there are bad arranged marriages, but I'm for arranged marriage. The reason why because look, man, and the viewers as well, the brothers and sisters really don't know what's best for themselves. I also feel the parents do know what is best for your children to a limit. And I'm speaking about myself. When I was getting married, I did not know. I didn't have resources. I'm not affiliated in the crowd, and and I didn't pick out my wife. Mazallah, I don't have a girlfriend. I didn't do any of this. I'm just speaking generally, like so I'm not immune to society. So my parents knew best for me, and just like you, Omar, we're all arranged marriage, but there are some defaults, and we're going to speak about the defaults though. Like there are people that are getting scared because of fraudulent people, as I was speaking about before.
right.
They elope when they come here, and that's a scare. That's the only insecurity that there is.
So Hafiz, one of the biggest issues that we find is that the relationship between, let's say, the son or the daughter versus their own family, when to get married, when not to get married, and issues that we see that come around when it's time to get married. Why are we seeing such a disconnect between kids, or we not say kids, but meaning the children of the house versus the parents?
Well, there's two reasons for this. One is the lack of communication,
Right.
and two is your lack of knowledge in terms of understanding what your rights are.
Right.
Okay, so if you're a brother or sister, you're interested in getting married, right? It's in your mind. You're ready. You should have that conversation with your parents. Say, can we find a spouse?
Right.
Or if you have someone in mind, tell them about it, right? Don't beat around the bush and go do sneaky things behind their back, and then eventually you get caught, or someone finds out. It makes it worse for
Right.
both parties,
Right.
right? If you are just straightforward and talk to your parents, have a mature conversation. If you feel that you're too scared, or you won't be able to communicate your point to your parents, have a third party,
Right.
someone that can mediate between the two, someone that you know very well, and that can explain it to them in a way that they would understand.
Right.
But the biggest disconnect is we don't have a proper relationship with our parents, and we kind of just they're parents. They're not we don't treat them with the right regard. We don't know what our rights are as children towards the parents, and vice versa. And that's kind of the biggest disconnect that's happening. So if we just simply communicate little things, right? Just communicate, and you can if you're too scared, just find that mediator,
Right.
right? Whether it's an imam, whether it's a friend, whether it's an uncle, aunt, whoever it is, but someone that you can trust. But don't go about doing it the wrong way, because here's the thing: if you start something with that's haram, it's going to continue and build and just be haram.
100%.
It's not going to have no blessing.
Absolutely.
But if you do it the right way with the blessings, with the way the Prophet ﷺ taught us, right? Then you're going to see that there's continually going to be blessing in your life.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing,
100%.
and one last thing before I
No.
finish off, is that if you start off on the wrong foot, right? Fine, you might have an okay marriage, but the next generation that comes is the one it's going to make you suffer.
Yeah.
Right? So just know that your actions always have some sort of consequence,
100%.
whether it's in this life, in the next generation, or in the hereafter.
100%. There's a lot of things now. I guess the hot topic is actually finding a spouse, and that's causing a lot of issues in the homes. And what's happening now is that people are resorting to these online dating sites. And now, is it okay? Let me start here first. Is it okay that I can open up a dating chat for Islamic purposes? Because that's what it is. Islamic matrimony, dil mil, all of these things are happening. It used to be minder. So let's start there first. Should people be going out on those applications to find a spouse? Number one. Let's start there.
Online, I don't think so. It's appropriate for any of that because it's just opening the door to zina, and then you're doing that one-on-one thing again, and and then that one-on-one turns into the parking lot again, and then it's never ending, right? And then after that, then it's on to the next person again, then to the next person. Then you're never gonna find that person. This is why it's safety in when it's arranged, but it doesn't have to be like the typical back home arranged as well. Like arranged could be someone that has been referred to, recommended to. It doesn't have to be someone from overseas.
You're saying
And,
arrange in the sense where families meet.
Yeah,
and
like
get
it's
to know
someone
the
that you
family.
know of referral. Like if I know someone, I'm gonna refer someone
Yeah.
to a brother or a sister. I'm like, look, I know this family very well. This is arranged, and I feel like in the setting in Sharia, that's permissible too, rather than you yourself doing things. Again, it came to that first point that I was saying because we don't know what's best for ourselves. That one, chat ends up into zina, and then we want to refrain from this.
So Hafiz, your take on should we be like okay? So we know we shouldn't be doing it, but why are people resorting to this dil mil and minder and all that jazz?
Because of the way it's marketed.
Right.
So you see the non-Muslims have all sorts of different dating apps. Okay, so now the target is how do we, because we know there's a lot of single Muslims. How do you target them?
Right.
Right. We'll create an Islamic or a Muslim app. The problem is there's no mediation. Right. There's no one that's supervising, or it's not like, okay, for example, if you're gonna make a profile, your parents are also making a profile so they can see what you're doing, or a guardian can at least,
For
right?
sure.
So there, and then the other thing is that when you only have two people that are just chatting, Shaitan's that third person there, right?
Yeah.
So then you don't know, and like Hazrat said, that you're gonna end up in the parking lot or somewhere. It's gonna end up in something haram.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want, and this is my whole thing, if you want the marriage to be a proper marriage, right? Everyone wants to do the nikah and have an Islamic marriage.
Right.
You need to do it the right way.
Right.
You can't be hypocritical, right? So it's that thing. So if you're gonna don't create a profile for yourself. Tell someone else. Tell your parents or your guardian that, hey, can you create a profile? You vet through all of them because you know what is required in a spouse.
Right.
And then if you feel like we should talk, then okay, you can make the arrangement.
Yeah.
But otherwise, don't go by yourself. If you don't have anyone, for example, let's say you don't have a parent or guardian, talk to someone at your local mosque or an elder that you know or a friend that you can trust.
Right.
But don't go about doing it yourself. Otherwise, again, when you don't know how to go about doing something and you start doing it, you're bound to make mistakes.
100%. One of the things, because you just touched on it, is marriages, and I can't I can't help but to go that way. What are we seeing in Islamic marriages now that should not be happening? Because here's the first part. The woman is asking for a meher, which is ridiculous. So can we start there? What should be a reasonable amount for the meher that a sister should be asking? Because I'm seeing G wagons and $50,000 plus for the meher, and then obviously going from that point and these fabulous, extravagant weddings. Let's talk about there, because our people need to understand we don't have money to give to the masjid for renovations and little things and whatnot, but we're spending $100,000 plus on not just meher, but we're also spending it on weddings and renting out cars and so on and so forth. So
Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, it's a famous hadith, that the best wedding is the one with the least expense. That is the most best and has the greatest barakah in it. So that is also inclusive of your meher. So the meher is, according to the Sharia, is to what now the amount of silver is, and that's the least amount that we should give for meher. But then again, the woman's side, because of their safety, and they up it.
But do you think it's safety, or do you think it's
security, right? That's what it is. It's security. So in case of a divorce, hey, this is what you owe to me.
It's kind of selling yourself? Because you know what women are doing now? They're saying, I want a G wagon, which is $120,000 Mercedes Benz truck at minimum, and they say we want that first and then nikah. Or we want $50,000 cash first, then nikah.
That scares off the person. If someone said that to me, I would have just made a U-turn. That just shows your personality right away. I'm like, look, my car in my house, whatever I'm going to drive is going to be yours anyways. Whatever, my house is yours. My kitchen is yours. Everything is yours. And everything does belong to the woman, respectfully. Right. The house is the woman. Like, if the women would understand, our sisters were understanding this, the man works for their woman and their family. Like, let's be honest. Our parents did this. Who are the queens of the house? Our women are. Who took care of the kids? The women did. Who took care of their spouses? The women did this. When we come to someone's house, we don't say this is a man's house. We look at, like, look how the woman took care of the house. So initially, you know, initially everything is belonging to the woman. So if the woman really actually rationally understood this, that this G wagon that you're asking for, inshallah, you will get this G wagon. But it doesn't have to be now. It could have been afterwards. We worked for it, and then this is the love of in the marriage. Imagine you starting off low, and I'm talking about all our parents that came into Canada, for example. This is a moral story. We didn't have too much. We brought whatever we had, and then we grew, we developed. And then that is the love. And that is where we see the barakah, where when we had nothing, our women of the household, our mothers didn't complain. They had limited food, they had limited money. Some of us lived in apartments, some of us started off in basements. Now we have huge houses. We all have houses. And this is what we need to see. We need to see growth in the relationship rather than asking right away for a G-Wagon or a Mercedes or a Lexus right away.
Can a woman ask for $100,000 truck or $50,000 cash?
She can, but here's the problem. It's this, you read one thing and you kind of take it, you pervert the thought to a very, very far extent, right? So here's the thing. Okay, sisters will say, okay, I know my rights. I can ask for whatever I want. Of course you can. You have the right to ask. And, you know, sometimes they might be doing it to kind of vet out a person. Right. Okay, for example, $100,000, there's only a handful of people that can afford that, 100%. Right? So from what Hazrat said, that, you know, it could be for security, it could be to vet someone else, to vet someone out. But the problem is now, if that is your goal, right, you'll get that person with 100,000. But how do you know what his salah is like? How do you know what his zakat is like? How do you know what his relationship with his Lord is like? Because he can have all the riches in the world, but you will have a very abusive relationship.
And there are some men that are buying women like that too.
Yeah.
And just like what the brother said, Hafiz said, there are men who are giving up $100,000 and G-Wagon, so they're actually buying their relationship.
But that's what I mean. So what I'm saying too, it's like you're selling yourself because you're putting, and before
and that's what I said too as well, like, I would have made a U-turn right away if I have seen this proposal.
Out, they're saying this. That's what I'm trying to say. Nikkah, it's not even at the point of Nikkah. They're saying, if a man I'm going to marry has to put up a G-Wagon and $50,000 cash. Off the bat, right away. So you wonder why you're not getting married.
And some of those men that do actually do that are like low lives too. I'm going to be dead serious with you. Some of these men who do give up like enormous amount of money for the mehr, and I'm being a little bit like controversial here, but I'm gonna say it. Yeah. When we see these things, those men, when these are the people that actually could never have got any woman. These are the men that were never in society, that were ever in the in-group. But Allah has blessed them with wealth. But then all what they're doing now is buying their wife. And they can pick out anyone. So we've seen stories of this. You see this guy who is not even, unfortunately, as Hafiz said, Islamic at all. Right. He doesn't know any of his kalimat. He doesn't know how to read salah. He's not interested in Islam, but he has money. Right. And then that money can buy anything. He can buy a woman, for sure.
Right.
And then women, like, of course, I'm sorry to say, again, on the other side, there are some women who are desperate. And then out of desperation, their age is hitting up, oh, we're plus 30, whatever. Okay, we got this proposal. Oh, he's a doctor, he's this and that, and he's a businessman and whatever. Hey, I'm just going to ask for whatever I want and see what I get.
So what happens to that individual, to that brother who doesn't have the $150,000 to put up and is working hard day to day like our parents did, like our fathers did, and they worked day to day. And they work their behinds off to provide for their family. And he has that, but it's like I wouldn't say paycheck to paycheck, just middle class. And they're seeing all of this and say, what are you going to give for me? How do we break that in our culture and in our society now? To say, because what's happening now is, for example, brother, he's working as a contractor and, he's renting a home. He doesn't own a home. And so on and so forth.
I think generally, the brothers are facing these situations. Is again what the brothers have spoke about is mediation with the imams. And here the imams need to mediate the situation and come into a conclusion which, look, the meher doesn't have to be this. The relationship is good. The guy is an honest, working dude, loyal, hardworking, Islamic. Okay, he may not have this and that, but he's working hard, and that's what means the most. And people and women who are listening, who are single, I'm telling you, it's not about looks. It's not about this and that. It is the one that can work in any situation, and that is a real man. A man that is when at his lows of the lows, and then you see him rise to the highest of the high. Or then there are going to be lows and highs. That man is a man. If you look, Ali ibn Abi Talib, radiallahu ta'ala, and we give this misal, and you know this, and we have the speaking about Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar al-Khattab, radiallahu ta'ala an, Usman ibn Affan, the wealthiest of the Sahabas. Ali ibn Abi Talib did not even have meher.
Yeah.
And who gave the meher for him? And who was Ali ibn Abi Talib getting married to?
Sayyidah Fatima.
The best of the women and the princess of heaven. But Ali ibn Abi Talib did not have meher even to afford.
Yeah.
And what did he do? But he had to sell something to show his shield. And who bought his shield for him? Ibn Affan radiallahu ta'ala an. So what are we learning just in this qissa here about the Sahabas alone? These should be our people that we look up to.
100%.
Right? And look who he's getting married to. Like, he's getting married to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's daughter.
See, one of the biggest things I think is the prophetic way, Hafiz, is completely lost. Like in our day and age, we've lost the prophetic way because the Prophet ﷺ, and then you can tell me your take on it, is he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if you marry someone, marry them for their seerah inside, how they are, and so on and so forth. And you get to know them, families meet, you get to know the person. It doesn't have to be all about looks and so on and so forth. Why is that lost now in our society? Because that was what would help our society if people had that thought process about the prophetic way and going about it.
They don't know. They don't know. People don't know about the seerah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Number one, let me go straight up. Sorry, Hafiz. But one, they don't know our prophet. They didn't read the seerah of our prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. They didn't know and understand our prophet. They didn't understand even in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's life how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam got married. His life generally, respectfully. He did not. No one has cared to even love our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Unfortunately,
if it was about money, Sayyidatuna Khadija was the wealthiest woman in Arabia, and the Prophet ﷺ didn't really have anything. So it's not about money. That just proves the point. And to your point about Sayyidina Ali and Sayyidatuna Fatima, Sayyidina Ali was poor his entire life.
This is why Islam is it's the best of the religions, right, if we followed it correctly. Mm-hmm. It doesn't discriminate gender. And it didn't discriminate money of the gender. Like, as you said, Hazrat Khadija was rich. And then at that time, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was not working. Right. And then Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was still married to Hazrat Khadija. Dunyavi, I'm talking about, for the worldly matter, so for people to understand. The richest man in the world is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But we're saying in Dunyavi way, this is, when we study the seerah, we're understanding the character of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He's showing us how to live, right, how a man should live. So here again, Islam is not gender biased, and it's not, okay, a woman should be only rich or a man should be only rich. No, here at this time is showing that the woman was rich and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam got married. Right. And then vice versa, we have Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib that doesn't have the meher. But then the proposals of Sayyidah Fatima came from Abu Bakr. It was rejected. Omar rejected because it was already predetermined. And then Usman ibn Affan, the most wealthiest of the Sahabas, even rejected. So money didn't matter here. We're understanding that one, it was predetermined that where the marriages should be. That's one. Secondly, there's no such thing as highs and lows of money. It's not about money. Right. It's about the compatibility. Because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam knew that Ali was the best of them because he was a carpenter. He was cutting masduri. He was
worked in the bog and stuff.
He worked in the forest. He used to cut lumber. So this is what Islam is teaching us. If we actually studied the deen of the Sahabas and we understood the seerah of the Sahabas, then we can take these characters of ours as someone to study of, and then should be our guides.
So I'm going to tail off of that and say, here's the reason why there's a disconnect. It's a generational issue because our parents, grandparents, they came to this country, right? And when they came here, they brought the family here, started families here, right? But they didn't institute Islam here. It came much later. Right. So we lost a minimum of 2 to 3 generations. Right? Now it's our generation that is, okay, we, at least had something. Then we took that and now we're worried for the next generation. So we're starting that. Right. But the pioneers should have been the ones that first came to this country. That should have been the first priority because, again, they didn't realize that this was going to cause an issue, 20, 30, 50 years down the line.
Jewish people do arranged marriages all the time, man. Jewish people, this is respect to their community. And this is what Islam taught us, but we forgot, just like Hafiz is saying. Jewish people do arranged marriages all the time. Right. All the time. But no one talks about it. But they're all arranged marriage. And they're within their community. Just like what the brother was speaking about. Jews, every Jew. Yeah. Every Jew is referred. And stuff. Unless you have the atheists of them and all that. And I'm talking about them. I'm talking about traditional Jewish people. Right. Religious or non-religious. But they're considered like Jewish.
It's not lost. I mean, stuff happens. Hindus do it and stuff. What you were saying?
Right. And then so the other thing is now, if you have a sister that's going to be asking for 100,000 or that G-Wagon, okay, I can guarantee you, and for lack of better words, that sister's a gold digger, right? Because if she comes from money, she doesn't need money.
Honestly, it's just modern day prostitution. Right.
Well, that's what it is.
Sadly enough, that's what it comes down. That's what I was trying to get to you guys. You're selling yourself. I'm worth 150.
No, I already told you. I would have made a U-turn a long time ago. Like, get out of here.
But that's what gold diggers are, right? They're attracted to the wealth. Now, you got to ask yourself this question: that even if I was to give this gift or whatever to this individual, is she going to cook and clean? Is she going to be a proper housewife? This, that, and the other? Is she going to pray 5 times a day? X, Y, and Z. How is that going to? Is she actually going to be a wife, or is she just going to look pretty all day? That's it. Right. And worry about herself.
In this day and age, and before I move on, because I still want to touch on the marriages and stuff like that's happening, because that's an important thing. And fights break out between families in regards to that, who's paying for what, and so on and so forth, because I find that hilarious. In this day and age, Shaykh Aamer, you're not married. Hafiz is not married. Would you find a person from here on your own, yes or no?
No.
In this day and age.
No. What do you mean? Like I'm a religious person. I don't have anyone. I don't have it. I need a referral.
Right.
I need a recommendation. It's not my lifestyle to go find someone though. Maybe you can ask someone else who is secular.
No. I'm saying
I don't know. Like I can't answer that question.
Here, we live here. We grew up here. We're born here. In this 21st century, let's say you're not married right now.
I would still go to my parents. Like that's my personality stays. If you're asking a secular person, that's different. If you're asking me what's the best way, that's a different question again. Because this time or the upcoming years, even for my children, I'm still gonna refer my child because of safety.
Would you care about culture? That's a lot. Like what do you call it? Zat. There's a lot of that.
Tribalism.
Thank you. Like, the Pathan has to marry a Pathan, or Rajput has to marry a Rajput. I'm sorry, I don't know on the Gujarati side, but you know what I mean? Patels and whatever else there is. But do you believe in that? Or should we go back to the prophetic tradition?
No. We can't say that we believe in it because
not believe, meaning, do you think it should be staunch? You should be staunch on it.
No. The reason why arranged marriages and stuff, because we're recommended and referred within the family. If it's not your cousin, it's a second cousin or a cousin of a cousin, and it's like that. So it's always like, okay, we find ourselves in the same type of culture, right? But that's one thing, right? This is the reason why we see Patels getting married to Patels, because it's not necessarily their cousins are getting married to each other. It's just that they know someone of the Khandan are getting married to each other. Khans are getting married within the Khans. But you know what I mean? Like, that's why we see more.
But is it mandatory?
No.
It's actually against the law.
Yeah.
Because Allah says in Surah Al-Hujurat that we've created mankind from nations and tribes so that they may get to know one another.
Right.
Now, if you're making compulsory that, you know, my son has to marry his first cousin or something like
Right.
that, you're actually going against the hukum of Allah,
Right.
right? It's not obligatory,
Right.
right? It's okay, fine. If you are agreeing to it, it's fine, but don't make it a hukum in your family or like a tradition in your family that, you know, we have to marry a first cousin or just within the family.
Right.
And also, like, even my wife, she's telling me from now that, oh, Ali, I want Ali to get married to like Indonesian or a Malaysian, someone that's different inside the household, because we want to kind of break this tradition that what Hafiz Saab is speaking about as well, and there's nothing wrong with that, because
There's nothing
we
wrong
in
with
our generation now, just like what Hafiz Saab is saying, that we are a little bit more open-minded now.
Right.
Now we're understanding the deen better than our elders or etc. We're more into the deen than, unfortunately, than our pioneers have. But now we're kind of more in the mindset like, you know what? Exactly what Hafiz Saab said. The Quran doesn't state this. Sunnah doesn't state this.
First.
So then why are we bounded to just brown and brown? Like, why can't we be Turkish? Like, you know, I always want to go to a Turkish restaurant. You know, he has never taken me to a Turkish restaurant. You know,
So I want to touch on something that might ruffle some feathers. In our Pakistani community, a Pakistani has to marry a Pakistani.
Yeah, get married to a Turkish and take me to a Turkish restaurant. Like, bro, this is what I'm trying to show him. Like, get married to something else, man.
A Gujarati.
They're eating salan all day.
I mean, Hindustani, for the most part, I've met, I think they're more a little open. Hindustani.
But look, like, essentially, because
Pakistani, you have to marry a Pakistani.
No, alhamdulillah, I'm going to tell you straight, and you know how we are, we're not biased, and Allah's all-knowing, and all-hearing, and all-seeing. The Hindustani community, which I've seen here in Canada and in the UK, are marrying outside of their culture and their caste and all of these tribalism that we're talking about. We have more Gujaratis are getting married to Pakistanis now. We've seen more.
Well, we've seen them here too.
Yeah, and then we have seen in UK a lot. And they're like, not just, we have Indians are getting married to Turkish and et cetera, et cetera. We've seen this a lot too, but I have not seen Pakistanis getting married outside of their culture.
So here's another thing. A lot of these diseases that you see within the South Asian community, they come from inbreeding.
Yeah.
When people have the same genes that are marrying into the same genes and you reproduce, you're going to mess up your next generation.
Right.
So a lot of these health issues, there's actually a big article that came out from Bradford, right? Where it showed that it was actually very, very unhealthy for the next generation. If first cousins were to marry, it's actually very unhealthy for the next generation.
Wow.
Right? So a lot of times it's, you know, look at the hikmah of the Quran, right? 1400 years ago, it said Allah made this entire earth. He made different types of people from different places. If you find someone you're suitable and you're compatible to marry them, right? But it was also to protect the humans themselves, right? It's so that, you know, we can protect the offspring and we can have better offspring.
100%. I just want to touch on the marriages because I think that's a big thing, and I'm not one to go. You guys go to marriages because you have such a big family, mashallah. You know, so you guys are always telling me some stuff. I'm not going to air out what happened in those. And that's not the point. The point is we've obviously been to weddings, and I can't remember recently, but what we find is that a wedding is supposed to be a certain way. And I get it, it's an important day for a man and a woman because you're completing half of your deen. But what we're seeing now is glamorous weddings, you know, spending a lot of money on halls and food and inviting people and so on and so forth. What's our one Islamic take on this? And second, why is society going that way? Why is society going that way? I guess
no, like we answered this first part already. That Islamically it should not happen because as soon as the Maulana is gone, the party starts. Okay, let's be honest. The Nikkah is there. We've seen it in videos. We see it in Pakistan. It's not even being, prejudiced towards our Canadian Muslims here. Pakistan, we went to weddings, and what happened? Maulana comes, there's silence. As soon as Maulana is gone, Dol Damal starts. And dancing and some weird things that we probably here doesn't happen, that back home it happens. Islamically, no, it's ghair shari, what's happening. There's no segregation. women are intermingling with men, etc., and music is happening, and then they have these like, the brothers can speak upon this. This is why I don't go to marriages. This is one of the reasons why I don't go. Unless it's not in the masjid, you're not going to catch me at a wedding, because this is also like ghair shari, to go to a place where you have all of this nonsense that's happening, where brothers, when there's like the bride is coming and the music is going on. Is this WWE? Like, what's going on over here? And then the man is coming with the music. Then we have the parents coming with the music. Then they're dancing in the hall to like their entrance. What I'm speaking about, you see this on social media, right? You see these videos on TikTok and all that, and they're coming, and like, what are we doing? Where did this come from, man? And this is all back to what your question was. Why this is happening is because what Hafiz said before in the conversation is because that we're mimicking other cultures, and we're it's just a trend.
But here's the thing, though: the parents. I went to a wedding, and Hafiz Luqman was with me. We were invited, and I met up with Hafiz Bilal. I think came. Yeah, Hafiz Bilal came with Auntie. And we sat down together, and literally I saw the face of the father when all of this was happening, and it was just head down. It's not the parents that are doing it, it's the children. That's the drama that I want to talk about.
No, you pull their ear and be like, yo, we're going to the masjid. We're doing our nikah in the masjid.
But that's not
it.
happening.
I'm not coming to your marriage. Like, like that's it. If my son says this to me, and this is all for the brothers here. You're all, Hafiz Saab's his uncle, Hafiz Bilal's his uncle, Luqman's his Ustadh and uncle. All the brothers are related to my son in this way. If he pulls this on his wedding, I'm going to shut the light off. I'm like, yo, come back to the Makkah Islamic Center and get your nikah done, brother. And then we'll talk about the walima later. Like, and this is how it would happen in my house. You can't say, and I'm sorry, man, like, I don't believe half of that, the parents have their head down and they're ashamed. Okay, I get it. Like, kids now have more money. I understand. Money talks, like, straight up. Like, the son will be like, look, I'm paying for this wedding now, Dad. You didn't pay for this, so I'm going to do what I say. Yeah. But then where's the authority? Of like, where's the respect for the father? Where's the respect for the mother? I also feel 50% if the parents smarten their kids off. And this, again, to the conversation, this should have been spoken about before getting married. Say, listen, guys, Islamically, this is how the nikah is going to take place. Respectfully, we're going to have not hundreds of people. We're going to have, like, say, 25 each, 50 people in the wedding. Let's make it normal. Khalas.
So, Hafiz, you have a big family, mashallah. And, one thing is that what we find when nikahs happen, marriages happen, is, and I'm not trying to ruffle some feathers in your family, but I'm just saying, what happens is, if you don't invite someone, there's a problem. Or if you do invite someone, they put +1. But Hafiz Saab has, for example, 4 people living in.
What's +1 mean?
Like, Hafiz Yahya is invited.
2 people.
Yeah, Hafiz Yahya is invited, +1 from the family, but there's 4 people in the house. And
you can't even afford the guests. See, this is a problem. Like,
why does this happen? Why does this happen? And why does, what's the issue behind it? Like, what's the reasoning behind it? And so on and so forth. I just always wanted to know. I ask Mohsen all the time, but
the +1 thing?
Yeah, like...
Okay, so here's the thing. Now, obviously, a wedding's going to be expensive. Saturday night, Sunday night, it's, prime time at a banquet hall. So you're going to be paying minimum at least $50 a plate.
Wow.
Okay, minimum. So now if you've got 600 Gujaratis, 700 Gujaratis, or whatever, they see people in one place, you got to limit it, because do the math, right? 700 times 50. Right? That's a lot of money that you're spending on food. Right. So now here, when you have, if you don't limit it, for example, now that 600-700 is doing two people from each person's house. That's not even inviting full families. Right. If you did full families, you'd have like 7,000 people. Yeah. But again, the reason why is to save money, right? Because our people, they don't even have the common courtesy that when you go to a wedding, you give a gift.
Yeah.
Right.
Pay for the plate.
Yeah. You basically pay for the plate, right? They don't even do that. Right. They'll come and eat for free and then critique your food and then go home. Yeah. Right.
This is the sad reality what we're finding, right? And I want to touch on something because people have told me when you talk about family drama again, because this is part 3 of family drama, it's Sasuma. So Sasuma, for you guys who don't know, is the mother-in-law. What we find is that mother-in-laws are training their daughters on how to rope the man and do all these things. And obviously,
No, the mother-in-law, like you're talking about, sasuma means the husband's, like our mother.
No, I'm saying our, as men, the mother-in-law. So the mother to the daughter is training, you know, and the daughter on how to be and how to
Again, she
don't let him do this, don't let him do that. You know, take control, get money off of him, do all these things. We're seeing this a lot now.
How to rope.
How to rope him. How can we kill this culture in this aspect of Sasuma training their daughters to be a certain way?
It goes back to what I said in the previous episode, where I said your secularism, it becomes your khuda, right? And the reason why you have this issue is because everyone watches these dumb Bollywood serials where the mother-in-law or the mother of the daughter is, you know, the sinister, and even the mother-in-law on the other side is a sinister, is a kingpin, and she runs the family. And so she's now looking for the next heir or telling the daughter how to run the family, right? And they don't realize how toxic this is. Just because it happened to them in their generation, they think they need to pass. That too, right? And if the daughter-in-law or the daughter doesn't listen or whatever, they start doing, you know, some funny stuff. They start doing some black magic or, you know, other things, right? That
like everything is yours. Like, relax. Like, you don't have to put black magic on your husband, man. Like, relax. Everything belongs to you. Like, I don't understand what the problem is.
See, the parents, the mother gets insecure that the other person is going to take my child away. And this is the problem. It's a toxic household that you fostered your child in first, right? Whether you're a mama's boy or you're a mommy's girl, whatever it is, it's this toxicity. Right? Because you yourself didn't have a proper relationship with your spouse. So now, okay, you think, okay, I have a child, I'm going to have that proper relationship, but you have attachment issues with this person. Remember what I said? I said some people have mommy daddy issues. This is what it is. And it doesn't come into light until they step outside the house and mingle with another person. And so when you have these issues, you don't realize it, but you're causing a very toxic environment. Right? And then you end up putting people in places where they have to pick a side. And if they don't pick a side, then you basically become karwa. You become, very like.
Look, honestly, I'm going to tell you, in my household, Omar as well, our father-in-law, just like what Hafiz was saying, that is foundation in the beginning, like who you're getting married to first, right? In our khandan, right, in the in Patan, right, we were very, very strict on this matter, this in-law matter and stuff like that. Women, every woman should be, but we take it to another limit. Like Afghans and Pathans and Pashtuns and etc. We all should. We have respect for our household. It's very extreme. Like it's disrespectful if there's a talaq in our khandan or our family, or a woman, elopes and etc. etc. So the khandan, our people, what they do is that Hafiz in my wedding, my father-in-law stood up in front of everyone, and he said to your auntie, Bhabi Afshi, and he said, now you're being rukhsat, you're leaving, you're only going to come back happy with your husband. You're not going to come back ever alone. That's it. Meaning, metaphorically, you're not going to come run back to us and elope and leave your husband, etc., etc. This happens mostly in our khandan, and it's probably happening in every khandan too, and nasiyat is given. But in ours, it's a little bit like straight up. You're coming back. If you're ever going to come back, the doors are open for you. With the family, you come back, meaning your husband comes and you're happy. Your children are coming back with you, and your husband is happy with you. But if you come back alone or eloping, mazallah, or disrespecting your husband, these doors are closed for you.
Right. I think that's important in a culture. But our Islam teaches this as well. And saying when you're going to when the daughter's getting married off to wherever she's going married off to, that person now becomes everything to them. Right. And they have to be a certain way. But I think one of the main questions arises, can someone in this 21st century here in the West, can they live as a joint family now?
Can they live? Yes. Will they live? Most likely not. The reason being is most people have seen, especially coming from the South Asian background, they've seen how toxic it is, right, in certain senses, and they find that if they move out and have safe and healthy boundaries, they actually have a more healthy relationship. Now, I'm not telling everyone to start doing that. I'm just saying that you can definitely coexist as a joint family. Right, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, my grandparents live with us their whole lives, no problem. Right, but there's other people that can't do it. Right, because there's a difference in personalities. There's a difference, especially when you're bringing someone from the outside into a new household. They may not feel welcome, right? And then there are also other people that have very evil or bad tendencies and not being welcoming, right? And they have their own agendas. They want to manipulate a certain person. So there's that. So in this day and age here, it's totally different. Everyone wants their own space. Everyone wants their own household. And it's also beneficial, because here's the other thing. When there is something going wrong between two parties, it shouldn't be a third person's business. Right? But now the problem is, if you live in a joint family that's very toxic, something that happens between one or two people of the household now becomes the entire household's problem. Yeah. Right? And it translates all the way down.
100%. What's your take on that? Should in-laws live with their son and their daughter-in-law?
It's a sensitive question now. Like, I had before, my mindset was quite different. In my earlier days, I'm not gonna lie to you. Now my mindset now is a little bit like because of the society and the changing that Hafiz said too, it's a little bit tougher now. Just because which era that we're living in and what's the culture, the traditions, none of this matter now. Now it's unfortunately it's all westernized and it's all this and that. I don't know. Look, if the parents, and this is not a fatwa, this is just a general nasiya. I'm not saying, once again, to leave your parents. Mazallah, I'm not saying none of that. Love them to death, take care of them. But if there's an option where the parents can leave separately, I think that is the best option now.
Why do you say that?
I'm saying that because of all the problems the brother just spoke about. Like, it's interference, it's all this and that, but it's compatibility. If it's up to the woman as well, is depending on which woman comes to the home. It's all this and that. If it's a traditional woman that it's coming from a background from India and Pakistan and Afghanistan and places like that, that understands the culture, it can work. Right. I feel the woman here, I don't feel it's gonna work. I respectfully.
So when we talked about earlier with the $100,000 meher and those, kind of demands, this is another demand, because one of my friends actually recently went through this, where it's like one of the first things, she didn't ask for a high meher, but she said, I want a place of my own. Wow. Right? Away from the parents. Right? And he told me, because after he got married, he said the first few months we were living in the basement of my parents till, I kind of just got a little bit more stable to be able to get a place. And he said those were the worst months of my life. Because there was a lot of...
Which ones?
When he was staying with his parents in the basement, it was the worst because, one, as a new couple, you're getting to know each other and stuff like that. And you're figuring that stuff out. But anytime there would be a disagreement or whatever, the parents obviously pick one side. And so there's a bias. And then, the wife then felt vulnerable and this, that, and the other.
It's a tough one. It's very tough now, man. Like,
what happened after that?
So eventually he did move out. And now he actually has a much, much healthier relationship with his parents, and so does the daughter-in-law, right? And he's thankful that he did. But again, I'm not saying that this is the case and you have to do it, right? But again, a lot of times the girls will make a demand. Oh, I want a place of my own. I want this, that, and the other, and X, Y, and Z.
So I'm gonna ask the question at the end for you. But when we see that families need to have a better understanding amongst each other, and I think there's a gap between that. What is your take on the biggest disconnect that we're seeing in families now? Because what's happening is kids are growing up and they have a lot of, I guess, prestige because they're educated here and all of that, and our parents are from back home. So now it's an ego thing and this and that. The biggest disconnect between parents and children now. What happens is, children grow up here and they come at age 21, 22 to the center and they say, my kids don't listen to me anymore. what is the biggest disconnect between parents and children that you're seeing in society now? Because you talk to a lot of the awam. What is your take on that? The issues that are happening within the family because of clashes between parents and children.
The biggest clash is that the parents were never involved in their family.
Right.
That's number one. Let me tell you straight up. Parents are working, mothers are working, the children are being raised by social media. They don't have a clue how to raise their children. And what happens is that they like to put other people in blame. Oh, Maulana Sahib, you never taught my son properly, taught me this and this. He's not learning this. Look up the complaints. Let's speak generally. Constructive criticism. Parents come up to us and say, well, he's not acting the way that you're teaching him at home.
Right.
Well, I'm not at your home. Well, he's at the masjid. He will be conformed. He's going to be abiding because we're there. I'm not at your home. I can't teach him. I can't teach him to go to the washroom and this and this. Where are you?
Right.
Why aren't you speaking to him respectfully? Why aren't you getting to know him? Where's your social skills? Where is your personal skills? Where is your all of this and that? Your teaching methods. Where is your initiative of getting inside your family? I'm not his parent. Okay,
you send them to us for 10 hours a week, and you expect us to
reform them.
Yeah. It's not. It doesn't.
We're here to teach you theory.
Yeah.
Teach you the Quran. If you're gonna learn Islamic studies, we're gonna teach you theory. Khalas. That's it. And Hafiz Sahib, you've been into madrasa. We've been into madrasa full time. Our Maulanas are not in our house. 50% it was their job to teach. 50%. It is your parents' job. Hafiz Sahib is a Hafiz al-Quran. 50% was coming from Ustadh. 50% is recital at home, recitation. Now, you cannot say, oh, how come my son is not practicing the deen? Well, when did you sit down with him and open the Quran? When's the last time you opened a math book? When's the last time you opened a science book with him? But people now, parents, they want blame. First thing that they do. And that's what I noticed in our community. Most important, and this is everywhere, that you teach him. How come he's not listening? This and this. Well, I'm not his father. Simple.
I think one of the biggest cases, and Hafiz, I'll come to you in a second. We see parents and they say, well, he's not progressing in madrasa and he's not doing all this. There is a huge disconnect because the parents, and I think Hafiz Bilal said this in one of the episodes, is that to gauge how the child is, you need to gauge how the parents are. The parents are not Islamiyat, not at all. Don't wear hijab, don't do whatever, and all of these things. And then how do you think the child is going to see? If the child never sees you praying salah at home, never sees you touching the Quran, reading the Quran, doing anything, they're not going to do it either. Right? And I read something beautifully, Bukhari Sharif, the Prophet ﷺ said, from the day that the child is born till 7 years old, he goes, teach them, be a teacher to them. From 7 to 14, be a friend to them, right? And reprimand them and this and that, be harsh on them.
So Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib is taught this is actually
what we should be doing as children. But now you're 16, 17, it's out of reach. You can't change 16 years of habit by 10 hours a week.
But so this is the thing. This builds up and then it translates into marriages, and then they bring these traits into the marriages. They're not ready to be married, right? And maybe physically they might be ready, but mentally they're not, right? And psychologically they're not. And then they have these negative traits. They don't know what the rights are of themselves for their spouse and that. And then basically you end up with what? A divorce, right? Or a very toxic environment. The parents' job, forget about the diniyat and everything. When's the last time you asked your kid how their day is going? What did you do today? Talk to me. Tell me what you did today.
What did you learn today?
Exactly, right? Tell me. Just spend 5 minutes with them before they go to bed, right? That's not hard to do. At least one of the parents should be doing that. Fine. If you can't do it 7 days a week, pick at least one day where you spend time with your kids. Because if you don't grow up with them, if you don't, if you're not there in their life, you're not present, you don't realize that, they might not say anything, but mentally they are scarred. Right. And then you will see that in the later parts of their life, they're going to reflect that same behavior to people around them as well as their own kids.
Right. But I think that at that point, when the child reaches 16, 17, 18, they're out. If they haven't learned it now, that's finished. It's not going to change.
Well, that's why you see so many people ending up in therapy.
Yeah.
Right.
Mommy and daddy
exactly.
yeah.
Right.
Imam Ghazali said at the age of 30, if a man has not changed his habits from before, he's never going to change.
He's never going to change. So one of the other things that has been a hot topic is in regards to should a woman be working in the house? And people have a problem with that when they say that, okay, the husband and the wife both work, and then in-laws have a problem with that because the house stuff is not getting done. So let's talk about the job and the role of a wife in the home.
The role is very clear for the man to work and earn, and it's his responsibility to take care of the household. Everything in the household. That's one. That's a role and responsibility for a man. For a woman, it is to take care of the household internally, to cook, to clean, and also to take care of the children and all of the chores inside the home. Now, before the women start, getting all hyper, there's exceptions here. Can a woman work? Yes, she's allowed to work, but according to the Sharia, and until she also comes home and she's taking care of the household as well. That's all, because her household she has to juggle both, but superiority is in the house first. You can't be working outside and then the home is a pure disaster. And it's back to what the brother said. This is why the children don't care. They're outside, they're gallivanting. The mom's not home. When the mom comes home, there has to be an order as well inside the house. She has to be taking care of the household as well. These are the roles and responsibility. But
so what if
as you grow,
she can? What if she can?
And what?
What if she's because look, we're gonna ruffle some people are gonna get hyped
Can
on
what?
this one because they went to school here, they're educated, and now you're saying
we're not saying they're not allowed to work.
Yeah,
we're not saying that. Well, I'm saying your responsibility in marriage, is to take care of your husband, to take care of the household, make sure the meals are there. The barakat is from the woman. People might feel this is a little extreme, but it's not like this.
This one's gonna
the woman. Okay, and as I said, now there's going to be some liberal folks are going to get really upset about this. Well, I'm working too. How come the man can't cook for me? This develops in love. This develops in love, where you see earlier in the relationship, in the first 2 years, when the man realizes that, look, the woman is doing all of these duties.
Yeah.
Now the man, because look, you're growing together in a relationship. Now understanding is happening. Compatibility is building. You're loving someone. It's not a relationship from the parking lot, man. This is a relationship that is from halal Nikkah. Okay? And they have understood each other. They've grown with each other. The man will start realizing in his relationship that, you know what? My wife, she's also working so hard. I'm going to whip up a meal today. I'm going to cook too. I'm going to also help on the chores. So there's nothing wrong with this. But the rule still, this is a favor a man is doing.
Yeah.
It's just like vice versa. If a man goes, I'm not working today, I'm not paying the mortgage, I'm not paying rent, I'm not doing anything like that, and I'll put it onto the woman. This is ghayr shari. You can't do that either. Right. And if the woman is earning for the man is sitting home and watching TV and watching cricket and watching basketball, doing this and doing that, and he's like, waste. Yeah. He's not doing anything. This is ghayr shari. You can't do this either.
Right. So
how would you feel if a man goes to you, I'm not paying the rent, I'm not doing that too? That's not allowed.
Right.
So roles and responsibility. The man has to work. He has to take care of the household.
Do you think in this day and age that a woman who is born here, brought up here, went to school here, has a university degree, is working currently before Nikkah, working, is able to physically, mentally go to work 9 to 5 and take care of what she needs to take care of at home?
I definitely think it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible.
Our parents did.
Our parents did, prime example. But the one thing is, what's your mindset?
Right.
Right? If you can't handle all that, then give it up. You don't have to work. If your spouse is earning good money,
right,
and is able to provide for you, then why are you doing it? Right? Or try to find something part-time, for example, if it's too many hours or whatever. But if you don't want to be flexible, you can't expect, the money to fall from the sky and everything to be done for you. It doesn't work like that, right? You need to also be flexible, and you need to understand that, okay, there's a certain limit to where I can work. It's not like before. Now you have a spouse, you have a family, you have a household to maintain as well. So if you're able to maintain all those responsibilities, go ahead. If you can't, then make a sacrifice. Make a sacrifice with the job first, though. Don't put your household, your relationship, your that in place of your career.
So, because one of the biggest things is like how to break this, because they spend all this money going into university and all of that. And they're in their role, they're in the job, and then they now have to leave all of that, everything that they worked hard for, and this and that. Right? So where is the median for them? Because there's people we know that are not married yet, but they've gone to university and they're in their field in what they went to school for. Now you're going to sit there and tell them and say, because you can't take care of the house, go leave your job. Career job I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you're working at Tim Hortons.
No, there's balance.
Yeah.
There is balance. And you need to learn to balance yourself. You need to first understand your relationship. You need to respect that relationship. Yes, a woman could be a doctor. Alhamdulillah. A woman could be a scientist. A woman could...
lawyer, whatever.
She can go onto the moon, man. Like, she can do whatever she wants. At the end of the day, if you go to the moon, you better make sure you come back on Earth and have my meal there and have it with me. That's straight up. This is the respect. And because this is according to the Sharia, right? You have to do this. And this is going to hurt people, but I'm sorry. This is how it's done. You're actually breaking laws of relationship according to the Sharia by doing this. Because, again, what the brother said earlier in the conversation, that we're being westernized. Right. Well, are we Western people or are we Muslims? First, we are living in a Western world, but we're Muslims living in a Western world. So our culture cannot be lost. Our religion cannot be lost.
Sayyidatuna Khadija radiallahu anha, was probably, like we said, the wealthiest woman in the Arab world. A lot of people wanted her marriage, including Abu Jahl. And she married the Prophet ﷺ, who wasn't worldly rich or had money
or needed.
Yeah, so he didn't have any of that worldly I'm talking about. And she continued to work. She was a very wealthy businesswoman, and the Prophet ﷺ, she was the best. She was the best wife to him, the best friend, and everything.
And she employed Nabi ﷺ as well to the job.
Yeah. So, meaning
she included him.
She did her part.
She included him in his life.
Yeah, she did her part.
Yeah,
and took care of the children. 7 children is not an easy task. And took care of the house, and gave her wealth.
No, for those liberal folks again, for the liberal folks on this matter, since you brought this topic up, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to go in seclusion in Ghar Hira, she used to walk up with sharbat and mincemeat.
Yeah.
And that ada was loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much. Imagine how high that mountain is. You guys brothers went for Umrah. Imagine her holding this sharbat from where she lived, followed Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, brought it, and then Jibreel Amin came to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and he said, tell Khadija his Lord says salam to him.
Wow. And you know,
and her house is going to be built in Jannah. That's it. Why? For the khidmah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But secondly, her role, her responsibility as a woman. My husband is also in seclusion as Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He's the Prophet of Islam. But also, it's affection, it's love, it's ihsas, it's realization. It is hot. It is in the desert. It is 40 plus, 50 plus. My husband, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, our master, needs something to drink. He needs something to eat. So if we understood this theory, my husband just came back from work. My husband is working hard. Okay, I'm going to do khidmah for him. I'm going to serve him. I'm going to help him. Not just in your dunya, you're going to gain barakah, and you're building your house in akhirah as well.
MashaAllah. And one of the things I just want to touch on, because I want to go to the last topic before we conclude, because that one's a big one, is that Ghar Hira, to understand. And that, like when we go now, there's steps, right? And we didn't go this time because we went to Ghar Thawr. But Ghar Hira, I've been many times, but going there, you have to imagine coming from the house of the Prophet ﷺ and Sayyidatuna Khadija and walking. You know that trek is not easy. You're going through mountains and this and that, and then climbing Ghari Hira alone, right? It's just, I mean, and that's why she's one of the guaranteed women of
She had two duties to take care of. One, a responsibility that
Every
the
day.
Prophet of Islam, and second, a moral duty that this is my husband.
And we see it in our Islamic tradition with all of the wives. You know,
Again, back to the
Aisha.
conversation as Hafiz said, Hafiz Saab said, and Hafiz said in the last conversations as well, if we understood the seerah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, back to the first point that we spoke about, and, you know, understanding that we're coming to an end very soon as well, but it comes back to that point. Understand the seerah of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, understand the azwaj muhtarat of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The women need mentorship, and the greatest of the mentorship of them to look forward to is the azwaj muhtarat of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. All of them. And the men, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, both should study the seerah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and you will find the answers.
For sure. Last thing, before we conclude, I think this is probably, and I'll save the best for last, right? So, talaq. Talaq is a big thing that's happening now. We're seeing the highest divorce rates that we've ever seen in Muslim families and marriages since COVID. The highest rates that's going on. And a lot of it has to do with, we grew apart and so on and so forth. But what I want to touch on is the man who abuses his manhood in the relationship and talks about uses talaq as a weapon against his wife. And I want to start there because that's a big one. You don't do this for me. You're not like this. You're not like that. I'm going to give you talaq and this and that. What is the Sharia talk about talaq? Let's start there. And then we're going to say, where's the disconnect between marriages now and why are we seeing so many divorces in the Islamic community?
Talaq in the masla of fiqh, and according to the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the worst thing. It is the worst thing. According to the masala, it is the worst thing in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ma'amalat al-furuh, it is the worst thing in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is talaq. Why? Because the shaitan and shayateen every day in their concept is trying to disunite human beings with human beings and disconnect yourself from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when talaq occurs, it's occurring in the household where men are acting and behaving like this, like jahils and like animals. They themselves have never understood the relationship roles. They themselves don't understand what their responsibilities were. They did not understand the seerah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam either, because Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has never threatened his wives with talaq ever. And nor he has struck his hand upon any man deliberately, unless if it was not from jihad.
Or woman.
Or woman. I mean, a man meaning generally like a man and woman. He never, or an animal. He has never did that either, deliberately. Using that power of talaq, this is insecurity. The man is himself scared. When in doing that, it causes more friction in the household, because how are you trying to apply love into your household when you're threatening people 24/7? The woman is not going to come near you. Imam Malik said, radiyallahu ta'ala an, the great fuqaha, he said, in my relationship, we have never fought. Imam Malik said this. In our relationship between him and his wife, he said, we never fought. The people who are in the Sahaba, who are listening to the hadith, he said, Ustadh, how is this possible? That, and how husband and wife, you guys never fight. He said, when I was angry, she was silent. And when she was angry, I was silent. Meaning we have to respect each other's anger as well, but not abuse your power. A woman can say the same thing. Oh, I can leave you too. She has a right to khula as well. She can say that, but I feel in all of these matters is the woman, in my eyes, never said this once to a man. Oh, I'm going to leave you and do khula. It's always the man saying, oh, I'm giving you talaq, I'm giving you talaq, and scared you. The woman wants to be loved. How the fitrah of a woman, if you understood the woman, she's sensitive. She's very sensitive. Mijaz, she said, they have been created from the rib bone of a man. This is mijaz. Metaphorically, this is not literally. Majaz, meaning she's sensitive. she can break. And the rib bone is the easiest bone to break. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us, meaning be kind to them instead of threatening them, instead of abusing your power. And this happens in desis only.
Right.
You're a jahil if you use talaq as kind of a weapon over someone, especially your wife. Because one, you don't understand the concept of it. You don't understand when you're able to use it. Just because you know the word doesn't necessarily mean you should be abusing it, right? It also means that you don't know your rights, 1 to yourself, 2 to your spouse, and 3 to your creator. Right. Because if you knew these 3 rights at least, then you would know that that is not a word that you just toy with, right? And like Hazrat said, that it's the worst thing that is that in the sight of Allah. The reason why is Allah loves to mend people. He loves to join people. He hates to break people, right? The other thing is, remember this, that you might have said these words and they hurt, and that person might not have said anything, but on the day of judgment, you also are answerable for that. If you break a heart and on the day of judgment, it will cost you very, very, very hardly on that day to pay for that.
So why are we seeing so many Muslim divorces now, especially in the last 3-4 years?
We're seeing a lot of divorces, again, because of infiltration of other people inside their relationship. Secondly, social media. And thirdly, we have comparison to other people. Okay, how come they have this, we don't have this? How come they have this, we're not living like this? How come they have a huge house, we don't have a house? How come they have a beautiful car? You worked 20 years. How come we're not up to the level of this and this people? These 3 reasons are the reason why that we're seeing a lot of talaq as well.
Well, one thing is, you are following the Western lifestyle. Right? We see that, okay, if it gets hard in a Western relationship, especially a marriage, okay, what's the easiest way? Bounce. I give up. I'm done. Yeah. Right? And that's it. Well, the problem is, did you try therapy? Did you try, talking to someone? Did you try to have mediation? Did you try to, do everything you could? But no, in most cases, they didn't. Right. Most cases, they just, they're tired of it. They don't want to deal with it, and they just want out from it. Right. And yeah, to leave is the easiest thing to do. But a true test to your relationship, and that true test that Allah is putting you right there, is how you are going to react in that. If you walk away, fine, you can walk away. But did you give it your all? No, you didn't. Right? So if you're just taking the easy way out, I mean, everyone can do that. But look at your own parents. I'm pretty sure they've fought at so many times when you're growing up and stuff. Did they automatically just leave each other? No, right? They made amends and they came back together and stuff. So you need to be able to, a marriage is going to test your compromise and it's going to test your patience. And so if you don't have these 2 qualities, you weren't ready to get married in the first place. If if your option is just to divorce, right? A lot of other times, what happens is you take 2 people to get married. Obviously, when you start to live with someone, you understand what their characters and their qualities are like. And they're like, I didn't sign up for this. This person is not who they laid claim to, what they were when I first got married to them, right? Yeah. And in that case, then what do you do, right?
My wife says the same thing to me. She says to me, no one's going to marry you if you leave me. Because she knows that what she has tolerated, meaning I could be a slob. I'm so comfortable with her. I can be a slob, but she's never done off once. She never said this and this and all that. I'm being respectful. I'm being honest for the viewers to understand too. We get so comfortable, but that's her love and that's her compassion. And that's my love towards her too. It's just that, no, respectfully, because she will say, and we get upset.
Nobody really gets to see that side of it.
No, the brother said,
try this at home, kids.
No, and the brother said, and the brother said, we fight a lot. People fight a lot. And see, this arguments are natural in the house. How can it be that, there's no friction and there's no hot, temper times? And of course there will be. But these are testing times for you, right? We have to understand that.
Marriage is
called. And then if I ever said, I'm going to leave, my wife tells me, Claire, no one's going to marry you because, you're just a slob, all this and that. I'm the only one who's going to tolerate you. Meaning she has tolerated me. Meaning she has loved me to the point where she has tolerated that, but I've taken advantage of her niceness and I've taken, her hospitability.
What do you say to the guy, both of you, and then we'll wrap up for final words, but what do you say to that individual who abuses his power over his woman in that matter and uses things like talaq and I'll send you back to your dad's house and so on and so forth, what do you say to that individual?
I don't think you have a right to call yourself a man, right?
Wow.
And the reason why I say that is because if you're using such cheap tactics, right, what real man would do that, right? How are you going to say I'm the son of so and so, right, and raise your head up and be proud of that when you are basically acting like you can't stand yourself your ground as a man?
Wow.
It's really simple, because if you want to say you're a Muslim and you're in a marriage and you've done everything right, then stay true to that. Right. Do not deviate from that. It's when you start deviating from that, then you don't have the right to call yourself any of that. And then, kind of lastly is that if you're going to hold these things over someone else's head, like your wife, for example, just know that there will come a day where your kids or your grandchildren and someone in the next generation or someone tomorrow will do the same thing with you. Yeah. Right? And then don't come crying to the imam or to the mosque or anyone and say, oh, this is the so-and-so and such is happening to my family. Right? It's your actions always have consequences.
Right. Yeah, I have nothing more to add than that. Another glance to this is, if you are going to give talaq, it has to be according to the Sharia. Did she break the rules of the Sharia towards it? Did she stop caring for you? Did she stop mating with you? Did she cheat on you? Did she commit any type of adultery? What did she do that for you to say talaq on her? So you cannot abuse talaq unless she has abused you in your relationship in all these matters.
Right. So, family drama part 3, but there's obviously going to be more because it's never going to stop because families keep growing and things keep coming up. But your words of advice, and I think we're going to end it there. So your guys' words of advice to better family relationships. What would you advise to the people watching in regards to that?
I got 2 pieces of advice. Real simple. One is communicate. If you don't talk, you're not gonna, be Professor X and read someone's brain. Right. Okay. And then second,
X-Men.
Yeah. And second is take your family or your spouse and sit in the masjid with the imam and understand your rights and understand what rules are there for the family and for the household within your religion and what it says. I'm telling you, if you do these 2 things, you should not have any toxic environment. You should not have any sort of issues in your marriage. And when the issues do arise, you'll know exactly how to handle them. Right? So be proactive. Don't be reactive.
Nice. Good.
Don't find your spouse on Dilmil and don't go online and find a spouse from there. You're not going to be successful. Because the foundation of your relationship is who refers you to your relationship, and the foundation of love starts from day one. So exactly what the Hafiz said, I don't disagree with him at all. It's just that learn to love each other, learn to respect each other, learn to be compatible amongst each other. Find a spouse that actually is religious and in the deen, that knows the rights of Islam, and go from there.
All right, Jazakallah, brothers. Thank you very much for coming on, talking about family drama. I'm sure that everyone's going to enjoy the conversation that we had, and I have a lot to say about it. But I appreciate you guys coming out. So Jazakallah to the viewers for tuning in. This was Family Drama Part 3. And we got some great episodes coming up your way. So make sure that you like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Mike.416. Continue to share our videos and the snippets that we continue to put out there every week. So please make sure that you continue to do that. Like always, we appreciate all the love and support, as always.
Don't go to the parking lot. Go to the masjid. That's what you need to do. Don't go to the parking lot. Don't make a mistake.
Now that you're here, we're the environmentalists. Right? The Suzuki people, because the parking lot kills a lot of the environment.
Yeah, leaving especially in this minus degree weathers that we're having right now. Killing the ozone layer. Anyways, so we're gonna end off until the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.